With Altered Carbon Season 2 out and Cyberpunk 2077 coming, as well as a new Matrix film finally on the horizon, let's plug into one of sci-fi's most intriguing genres, cyberpunk, and explain its origins and what the genre attempts to say. Science fiction authors of the 60s and 70s set the stage for cyberpunk, writing stories that focused on near-future dystopias where technology had run amok and society was controlled by corporations, artificial intelligence, and way too much neon. Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep was the first clear example of cyberpunk in literature, and it would later inspire the next evolution of the genre with William Gibson's Neuromancer in 1984. Neuromancer follows a washed-up computer hacker who takes on a final job that puts him at odds with a single artificial intelligence trying to take control of society. Gibson used elements of punk and hacker culture, which would eventually become staples of cyberpunk. Neuromancer would also go on to inspire a certain Keanu Reeves-centered badass action film, John Wick. Okay, no, we actually meant The Matrix, but John Wick is cool too. He also starred in an actual William Gibson film too, so Reeves is honestly the poster boy for cyberpunk films. And apparently video games too now with Cyberpunk 2077. However, the genre wasn't officially called cyberpunk until writer Bruce Bethke coined the term in the 1980s, with his aptly titled short story called Cyberpunk, combining the words cybernetics and punk. Inspired by the works of Gibson, Dick, Bethke, and others, the genre of cyberpunk slowly made its influence felt on cinema, not just with The Matrix, but with other films in the 80s and 90s. Ridley Scott's Blade Runner is an adaptation of Electric Sheep, and films like Tron, Hackers, RoboCop, and The Fifth Element also owe a lot to the cyberpunk movement. Cyberpunk can still be felt today with works like Alita Battle Angel, Ready Player One, Upgrade, and Blade Runner 2049. Alita Battle Angel itself is based on cyberpunk anime, which itself is an important subgenre of cyberpunk, with films like Akira and Ghost in the Shell influencing films, movies, and creators for decades. Cyberpunk also became incredibly influential in gaming, with Mike Pondsmith creating the Cyberpunk 2020 tabletop RPG in 1990, which would end up being the basis for Cyberpunk 2077. Other RPGs quickly emerged, including Shadowrun and GURPS Cyberpunk. Shadowrun eventually helped the genre transition to video games, with a Shadowrun video game being made in 1993. And the groundbreaking System Shock games, which would eventually spawn the influential BioShock series, pushing cyberpunk to mainstream popularity in the industry. Other video games started to use cyberpunk themes, even if they weren't truly cyberpunk games of their own. Take a look at Final Fantasy VII for a perfect example. The gaming series Deus Ex also popularized the genre, with the series focusing on a protagonist slowly losing his humanity by continually upgrading himself. And Cyberpunk shows no sign of stopping, still influencing games today. Cyberpunk remains popular because it focuses in on today's anxieties, harnessing our fears of capitalism mixed with rampant technology, and constantly asks the basic question of what makes us human. In a real world where we continually feel like we have less and less control over our daily lives, cyberpunk causes us to question how we regain power back. Basically, cyberpunk forces us to reconcile a basic question. Is it more human to just accept the decaying world around you? Or will we always feel a desire to choose our own destiny? All while making sure we look awesome in that neon glow.